Hi everyone, hope your day has been amazing. I believe you had a very blessed day. I want us to take a look at, we're still on the key career paths. I want us to take a look at cybersecurity. Now, I love this specialization, not only because that is my field, but also because this is one of the areas where I get a lot of questions. So I'm going to be talking about some specializations in cybersecurity. Today, if you are looking at key career paths, you are looking at cybersecurity. I've been getting a lot of questions based off of that. I want us to answer some of the questions. If you have any questions about any other specialization or what I would call any other aspects, leave a comment below and I will certainly attend to it. Now, let's dive in. Like I said before, cybersecurity is that aspect of like we talked about yesterday. Cybersecurity is the aspect of tech that protects networks, that protects systems, that protects data from unauthorized access, breaches, and cyber threats. If there's going to be any form of what I would call vulnerabilities or penetrations or threats or cyber attacks, this is the aspect of tech that actually handles it. Now, the first specialization I want us to take a look at is GRC. Now, this is a very, very funny specialization. I'll call it funny in that it's a very misunderstood specialization. So many people believe that if you're going to go into GRC, you don't need an understanding of the technical aspects. Unfortunately, it's a misguided thought. It's I don't want to use the word misconstrued, because for you to be successful in the space, you need to have some understanding. I will use the word good. You need to have some deep understanding of the technical aspects, because these aspects, it aims to ensure that organizations are operating in a responsible, ethical, and compliant manner while effectively managing the risk. Now, the first thing I want you to understand about the GRC aspect is that it has GRC specialization is the fact that he has three specializations in one. He has three specializations in one. What that means is that G is standing for governance, R stands for risk management, and C stands for compliance. Now, what is governance? Governance is that aspect that refers to the processes, the practices, the structures that an organization has to put in place to ensure proper decision making, accountability, and oversight of that organization. What that means is that there is the defining of policies, there is the implementation of policies and procedures and controls to guide the organization and its stakeholders. Anything that defines the structure, the processes, and the practices that an organization has to put in place in order to ensure what is called accountability, decision making, and oversight is the governance aspect. Now, let's look at the risk management aspect. The risk management aspect is the process of identifying, assessing, and mitigating. What mitigating means, mitigating risk. What mitigating risk means is reducing. To a large extent, we do not use the word elimination when it comes to risk, because you may be unable to totally eliminate the risk based off of the fact that if you have to eliminate the risk totally, an organization may not be able to achieve its business objectives. So sometimes we say risk is too much because you have stopped the organization from being able to operate effectively and achieve its organizational goals. So the next one is compliance. That's the third specialization. The thing with compliance, this is the aspect of GRC that a lot of people are actually focused on. This aspect focuses on ensuring that organizations adhere to relevant laws, they are adhering to regulations, they are adhering to industry standards and internal organizational policies. Now, what this means is that they need to have a good understanding of the regulatory landscape. They need to be able to implement the controls. They need to be able to meet the compliance requirements of probably a governmental agency or what is called a regulatory body by conducting regular audits and assessments to ensure and compliance effectiveness. So what this means invariably is that an organization has set what I would call a regulatory body. That regulatory body sometimes may just be a private organization, or in some instances they are what is called governmental agencies that have set requirements, that have set regulations, that have set what is called policies that an organization has to meet up with before they can be allowed to perform some certain tasks. Now, if you are in the GRC space, it is your responsibility to ensure that that organization is actually meeting up to what they should be doing. Now, for you to be successful in this space, you need some transferable skills. These transferable skills include good communication skills. The sincere truth is that for you to be successful in any aspect of tech, you need good communication skills. Then the next one is analytical and problem solving skills. You need attention to details. You need organizational skills, adaptability and flexibility, collaboration and interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills are extremely important because you are going to be relating with people that we call stakeholders. So it's imperative that you have some level of interpersonal skills so that you can relate with them effectively and collaborate well. Then you need what is called speed reading and documenting skills. If you are not good at reading, you need to develop some good level of reading, because GRC involves a lot of documentation and you don't have enough time to do what I would call a huge reading. So a lot of times you need to be very good with speed reading and documenting, because apart from reading it, you also need to do a lot of reporting. So you need what is called speed reading and documenting skills. You need business acumen, and you need multitasking and leadership skills. These are transferable skills. I'll call them transferable as well as soft skills that are imperative that you have if you want to go into the GRC space. Now, technical skills that I will recommend that you have if you are going into the GRC space: you need a very good knowledge of compliance. You need to understand risk assessment and management. You need to have a good understanding of governance. You need a good understanding of data security and privacy. You need to understand auditing technologies and methodologies, auditing techniques and methodologies. You need policy documentation. You need to understand how to create policies, how to create procedures, how to create forms of any form of policies. You need to have a good understanding of how to create them and how to work with them. At the same time, you need to have a good understanding of change management principles. Now, let's look at the next specialization: vulnerability management. Now, the thing with vulnerability management is that this is a specialization that is focused on identifying, assessing, and mitigating vulnerabilities in computer networks, computer systems, and software applications. These are the people that are looking for vulnerabilities in, or what I would call loopholes in the systems, loopholes in the software, loopholes in the application. Under this particular specialization, I'm also going to add ethical hacking and penetration testing as well, even though there are different aspects, or what I would call different specializations. But under this, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be adding ethical hacking and penetration testing as well. Now, what will I advise? One of the things I want you to understand about vulnerability management and penetration testing, there really is a difference. The difference is the fact that vulnerability management is only focusing on identifying and remediating the vulnerabilities. Every time they find, they'll be looking at the vulnerabilities in an ongoing and in a systematic manner, constantly, they'll be looking for vulnerabilities and they are going to be remediating them. But penetration testing, this is simulating real world attacks. They are trying to act like the hackers so that they can identify where the vulnerabilities are, and they are going to assess the effectiveness of the controls that have been put in place. That's the difference between the vulnerability management, penetration testing, or what is called ethical hacking. Now, the transferable skills that is needed for this specialization include good communication skills, analytical and problem solving skills, attention to details, time management. Oh, time management is imperative, please. Adaptability. You need to have a collaborative mindset, documenting skills, willingness to learn, and leadership skills. I'm going to go through them again. Good communication skills, analytical and problem solving skills, attention to details, time management, adaptability, a collaborative mindset, documenting skills, willingness to learn. You must be willing to constantly learn. You must constantly evolve because threats are constantly coming up per second. Every time you blink your eyes, a new threat has come out. So it is imperative that you are willing to learn, and you must have good leadership skills as well. Now, the technical skills that I would recommend that you have, you should have a good knowledge of compliance, have a good knowledge of risk assessment and management. Incident response skills are imperative. Have a good knowledge of cryptography, operating systems, web and application security, and vulnerability management tools. Now, the reason I'm asking that you have some of these technical skills is that every time they bring in what is called a documentation or another section or somebody from another specialization is talking to you, you want to gain a good understanding of what they are talking about and be able to decrypt whatever information you have been given. You do not want to start looking at your graphs or your reports and you are wondering what it's talking about. So it is imperative that you gain some of these technical skills so you can be able to interpret information that you get or that you receive. Now, the next one is incident response. The thing with this specialization is that they are the ones that respond and manage cybersecurity incidents within an organization. Every time there is a cybersecurity incident, when we talk incidents, it does not necessarily mean a cyber attack. Sometimes incidents happen because something happened, probably because an employee mismanaged information or did something they were not supposed to do. It's still considered an incident, even though there was no breach. So in such instances, the incident response team is responsible for managing and responding to that incident. They respond to it, they manage it, they document it, and they report it. That is their responsibility. Now, for you to work in this specialization, I recommend that you have good communication skills, you have analytical and problem solving skills, attention to details, very imperative. Emotional resilience. Oh wow. This is a specialization that can be emotionally tasking, especially when there is a breach or when there is a complicated incident. So it is imperative that you are the kind of person that is emotionally resilient, that you must have adaptability and flexibility. You must be able to collaborate effectively, because when there is an incident, you are not only reporting to people within your team, you are also working with law enforcement agents, you are working with people outside of your team. So it is imperative that you have the ability to collaborate effectively. You also need to have the ability to read, to understand. Now, the reason why I am recommending that you have the ability to read, to understand, is that a lot of times, when you are in the incident response team, you have what is called playbooks, or in some instances, you have manuals. It's imperative that you understand what that manual or that playbook is saying, so that you have to understand your policies and procedures for you to be able to follow them effectively and put everything into play. That is why it's called the playbook. You need to be able to act on what you have read. That is why you need the ability to read, to understand. Then you must be willing to learn, and you must have good leadership skills. Now, the technical skills that I would recommend that you have if you want to go into this specialization, you need a good understanding of security tools and technologies. You need a good malware analysis. Is important that you have some good understanding of how malware analysis works. You have a good understanding of logging and alerting techniques. Incident handling, how to handle incidents. We'll probably do another video on how to handle an incident. If you want us to do that, please leave a message for me in the comments section. We will actually look at that as well. Incident reporting and documentation. It's important that you know how to report an incident and be able to document it, because we always recommend, or it's not even recommending, it is imperative that when an incident happens, there is some form of reporting and documentation that has to come into play. So if you are going to be working in incident response, you need to understand how to report and how to document. You also need to understand penetration testing methodologies and reporting methods, so that you are not only reading the reports, you understand it, and if possible, you can use it, or you can do some form of penetration testing if required. You need a good knowledge of cloud security. You need to understand threat intelligence, and you need to have an understanding of networks and operating systems, because those are some of the tools that you are going to be using. Now, digital forensics. Wow. This is a specialization that involves the recovery, the investigation, examination, and analysis of material that is found in digital devices. What this means is that when an incident happens, or when something happens, not necessarily an incident, is what is called forensics, is the fact that they are doing what is called a trace. So if you are going into this specialization, you are like somebody that is, I'm trying to see how to break it down. Somebody that is breaking down a carcass or a corpse. You are looking at a device, you are looking at a tool, you are looking at digital material in a device. You are trying to extract information from a digital device. Even if that information has been deleted, even if that information is destroyed, it is imperative that you understand how to bring it back and be able to recover, investigate, examine, and analyze that information. Now, for you to be successful in this specialization, I will recommend that you have the following transferable skills. You have good communication skills. You have analytical and problem solving skills. You must be attentive to details. You have good communication skills, because you are going to be writing a lot of reports. You have good adaptability and flexibility. You have collaboration and interpersonal skills. Project management. You are going to be managing a lot of projects, and you must be organized. You must have good organizational skills if you want to be successful in digital forensics. Now, the technical skills that I will recommend that you have, you must have a good understanding of how to use your security tools and technologies, malware analysis as well, logging and alerting techniques. You have to have a good understanding of network protocols. It's good that you have a good understanding of networking protocols. Incident reporting and documentation. You need to be able to report incidents and document it as well. You need to have an understanding of penetration testing methodologies and reporting methods as well. A good knowledge of cloud security is important. Data recovery techniques is very, very, very important. That is the main skill that you need for your job. It's important that you have some knowledge of coding and scripting, so that if you are going to have to do some form of manipulation or evaluation, you can actually do that. You must be able to use forensic analysis tools, and you must understand cybersecurity principles, basic, or what I would call fundamental cybersecurity principles. It's imperative that you understand them. Now let's look at the next specialization. The next specialization is threat intelligence. Wow. This specialization involves the gathering, analyzing, and interpreting of information about potential or existing threats. Now, what this specialization is talking about is sometimes there may be some threats that are already upcoming or already in existence, or they are about to come, or they've heard about it, or you've read about it. So it is your job, it's your responsibility to actually gather the information about those threats. It's your job to analyze it, and it's your responsibility to interpret information about those threats and to let your organization know what is going on. Now, the transferable skills that I would recommend that you have if you are going into this any role in threat intelligence, you have good communication skills, good analytical and problem solving skills. You need attention to detail. You need emotional resilience as well. You need to be adaptable and have what is called flexibility. You don't have to be too rigid about how things are supposed to be working. You need to be flexible. At the same time, you need the ability to collaborate effectively. You must be willing to learn. You must have the willingness to learn. Ability to read, to understand is also important here. Why is that important as well? Because you are going to be reading some of those reports, and you need to understand them for you to be able to interpret them, and be able to report on it. Then the last thing that you need is ability to interpret information. It's important that you are able to interpret information. When you read something and it's technical, there are technical jargons in it, it is your responsibility to write it in what I would call a layman's language, so that even if you are reporting to people that are not technical, they have a good understanding of what you are talking about. Now, the technical skills that I would recommend for this role include security tools and technologies. You need malware analysis as well. You need to have a good understanding of operating systems. You need to have a good understanding of networking protocols and techniques, a good understanding of incident response, incident reporting and documentation. Then cyber psychology. I want you to have a good understanding of cyber psychology. That is looking into the human mind to see how and why they do the things that they do in the cyberspace. It's important that you have that understanding. Have a good understanding of data recovery techniques. Coding and scripting is also important, and cybersecurity principles. Now, we're taking a look at some of the specializations in tech. So I believe that with this understanding, you are armed enough. You have the transferable skills, you have the technical skills that are required for you to be a success in the cybersecurity aspect, in the cybersecurity field. If you decide to go into that field, we have taken a look at 4 different specializations. If you have questions, I will advise put your comments below. We'll answer your questions. Until I see you in the next video, stay safe. Have a lovely day. Take care. Bye.